Okay. Okay, welcome to chapter 6 and 7 of our book study.
Yes, the really good parts, I think.
Yes.
So who all is here? Do we have other people on the call?
I don't think so, not yet. Eva might stop in later. I think she's working out, but
Perfect. Yeah, I know several people had things tonight. So we'll just do this, get through it, the three of us, and whoever joins us, and then we'll let everybody go.
I know a lot of people are watching the recordings. I think.
Sometimes I think it's hard to get everything done in the evenings. So perfect. Yeah. Okay. So do you want to get started, Darla, or?
Sure.
Okay.
So chapter 6 is all about presenting, and this was huge for me because I think when I first started, I was watching a bunch of people that I admired, and I felt like in order to do it right, I had to do what they were doing instead of just maybe using what they were doing and not like reinventing the wheel. Right. So now that I've read this, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I didn't really get what the duplication was. Like I was everybody was telling me I was trying to understand. And I finally get it now that it's stuff using tools, like, right. And not yourself. Like we can be experts, but that's not as duplicatable as using tools to pass along the information.
Right. Because I think the thing that got me on this chapter was if you come across as an expert or a know everything or making it look really complicated, people are going to be turned off in the fact that, oh, I can't do that. Look she knows everything. She's so, whereas most of us don't know anything when it comes to a lot of this stuff. We just are sharing our passion, really. Mm-hmm. And so that was big for me. Like, I don't need to be an expert. I just need to use the tools that we have and share my experiences. Mm-hmm. And that's really all people want to know. So I agree. I think this was a huge learning curve for me as far as, I don't have to copy everything they do. And yeah. So how do you feel about it, Ashley?
Well, I felt like, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure. I'm sorry. I'm done with the phone version of this. I'm used to being on my computer. I felt like it made a lot of sense, especially the way that we do things in Plexus with having our sip-and-sees and having all of the support of our upline and sidelines. And so I feel like I'm still fairly new because I have a ton to learn, so I don't see myself as an expert. So it was refreshing to see that that's okay. Yeah. And then the part where it was like me was all in caps. I was like, oh, guilty. I've done that. And so just reflecting on how pushy that can come across. But yeah, I agree with y'all. So just using
especially if you think it's usually from your best intentions, like yes, and feel at ease, like, oh, that this is what happened to me, or this is, me, just because you're trying to make them comfortable. But you don't realize that can just be completely the reverse, and it can make them more uncomfortable. So
right, and you don't have to close the deal in one meeting. And
exactly.
So, like realizing that, I know that's in the next chapter too, but just realizing that I don't have to get you right this second, and if I don't get you now, I'm never going to get you, but that it can be a process, was like, I wish I would have read this in the very beginning.
Yes.
Would have been helpful.
I think Darla and I have talked about that so many times, like, where was this book in the beginning? So
yes.
I'm starting anybody who signs up with me that wants to work the business now, I'm like, first and foremost, you need to start reading this book.
Oh, that's smart. That's really smart.
It's a great plan. Absolutely. Welcome, Flor. How are you?
We can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm late today.
Oh, it's okay. We just got started.
I was actually reading, trying to catch up. So because I read it like earlier in the week, and I'm like, let me just refresh. And then by the time I look, it was like, oh my God, it's already 8.
That's okay. We barely got started.
A lot of haven't slept because my son is teething still.
Oh,
so, I know that feeling.
Yep, we've all been there. So good. Well, we're glad you're here. So just chime in whenever you want to chime in.
Will do.
Hi, ladies. It's Eva. My internet's not working, so I'm having to call in.
That's okay. Glad you're here. We were just kind of talking about the beginning of chapter 6 on duplication and some of the things that kind of struck out to us that we've either not necessarily done wrong, but we could have done better maybe, or things that we've done that we thought were the right way to do it, but maybe not. So do you have anything to add about that, about duplication and or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
That's okay. All right.
I need to get my mindset on the book, so I'm going to take a minute.
Oh, you're fine. Take your time.
Okay. So, Darla, you want to we can go on.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover, so it's good.
So we're just talking about what duplicates and what doesn't duplicate. So, being the expert doesn't duplicate, but connecting people with tools, events, and other distributors. We have so many, already experts in our business that it's super easy just to use stuff that they've already created to as tools as well.
Mm-hmm. Use their stories and their information as kind of fact-based stuff,
Yeah.
Their facts, and use them as their, to give testimonies and whatnot. So.
It kind of interested me because he was saying how, through his research of the pros and what they use, they use tools and they use live events and they use other distributors. I wonder what the first people in Plexus used.
That's true. I think, I've heard Sheila Medina talk. She talked at convention. She was the very first person that they brought in to basically do it all. And she just basically went out and just told people about the product. That's all she could do. She didn't have a website. She didn't have anything. And she just knew that what the company was offering her, and the breast kit product was something people needed. And then that was basically all she did. So I can't imagine just starting from square one and having to create everything that we now have. I mean, we are so fortunate. So she's amazing to listen to. Hopefully she'll speak again at this convention for those of you that are going, because she has a lot of good insight into where the company started and where it is now. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So the next part was just how he gave us the formula for writing our story in about 5 sentences. And I know, Flora, you were talking about this last week. I don't know if you got a chance to do it with this or with the one I posted. I didn't realize, I forgot that the next chapter had a formula in it.
That's okay.
So do we want to each share our 5-sentence thing, or maybe have 1 or 2 people do it? What do you want to do, Sally?
It doesn't matter to me. We can have, if people want to share, great. If they just want to give maybe some of the 5 elements of their story, whatever you want to do. Whatever you're comfortable with.
You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. I just put, I have both the business and the health, and I don't know, I think he was talking mostly about the business, but, so I kind of have, I guess mine's more 6 sentences, but.
It's okay.
I just think I was in a lot of pain due to, different issues and all kinds of prescription medications. I was working full time and barely getting any time with my daughter, and I wasn't being appreciated at my job. I became one of the people who, what are they called? The hiders
or the can't remember. But yes, we know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Plexus came into my life, and I've lost 60+ pounds. I'm off all prescription medications. I'm in no more pain, and thanks to an amazing company, I'm now able to stay at home with my daughter.
Perfect. I like that. That's good, because I think it covers both the business and the health part of it, which I think it's hard not to do with Plexus, because our story is so much about the health benefits and the wellness benefits. I think that's what brings people to the company anyway. So I don't think you can really, I guess you could do just a 100% business one, but I think for our purposes, people want to hear about our personal experiences too.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think I might have met, out of all the people I've met in Plexus, I think I may have met 2 that said they started just for the business opportunity.
Yeah, I can think of maybe 1 off the top of my head right now, and it was at convention. Maybe it was at Leaders Retreat. Was that where we heard that? Got up and told a story. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Ashley, do you have anything?
I didn't write anything down, but if I think of even just transitioning from, like, in the beginning, I decided to try the products because I wasn't feeling well. And so after seeing a difference in how I felt, I was like, all right, cool. I started thinking more about the business part. So if I think of where I am in my life as far as my background, I've been in education for 17 years in a field where you can't really grow economically. There's no way to race to the top unless you want to be in administration, and I have no desire for that. And so after going through a divorce recently and having this opportunity for extra income while helping people, that was a big bonus for me. So I've been able to supplement my income since sharing with friends and family. And I feel like in the future, I'll be able to work the business full time and then volunteer in schools and work with kids how I choose to instead of how the state tells me to.
That's awesome. That's a great goal. I didn't know you wanted to do that. So that's great.
Oh yeah. I would prefer just to be able to volunteer and do things how it used to be instead of how it has to be now. So
exactly. That's great.
Thanks.
All right. Eva, you want to say anything?
Sure. Actually, when you guys were talking, it just made me remember why I started in the health field in general in the background. This will be the first time I say this out loud, but my background is just from the education standpoint is health education and then human resources, and ultimately my bachelor's was health education because my ultimate goal of all is to be a mom, and I figured with the health education background, if I did nothing else in a professional manner, that I could at least use that to care for a family. And so right now, working in human resources, I'm still looking towards that goal, and ultimately on the health side, I was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and since I can remember, I've also had a lot of BM problems, and so I heard about this from a friend and how it was assisting them in different ways, and I thought, I'm going to give it a go, and at the same time, I'm going to continue hoping that this helps me to be able to be a stay-at-home mom one day, but educated at the same time because I enjoy connecting with people and sharing what I have and growing from that. So this is a perfect fit for me, and thus far I've been able to get better sleep. I'm not having sleepless nights anymore and having a lot more energy throughout the day. I'm actually going to the bedroom with energy and then just falling asleep and not having to worry about staying up and being fidgety at night. So it's been great that way.
That's awesome. I love it.
That was awesome.
Laura, do you want to say anything? Totally up to you. Might have lost her. Okay, I can do a little bit of mine real quick. I originally wanted to start the products for weight loss. I've had lots of weird health issues with thyroid, pituitary, weight gain that I just, no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of. And I'd seen a couple of friends post about it, and I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. So I got started immediately, felt great, was sleeping better than I had ever, started losing weight. It was actually very shocking to me because that had not happened in years. So I did that. I was definitely one of those people that was a wholesale buyer. I'm not doing the business. Don't even ask me about it, Kim. And now I laugh about that, of course. But once I started feeling so great, I just couldn't help tell people about it. I told my family about it. I got started. And as we all know, it just kind of, the business evolves. So for me, it was more for my health than anything. But now looking back, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I haven't worked out of the home for 13 years. So any job skills I had, my degree is in business and computer information systems. So after 13 years, it's pretty much irrelevant because so much has changed. So for me to go back to work, it wouldn't be feasible. Number one, I have a special needs daughter who needs me a lot. And number two, I wouldn't be paid enough to make it worth our while. So I always in the back of my mind had the guilty feeling of I can't contribute to our household. I have to, even though my husband wants me to be a stay-at-home mom because I want to be, we're able to afford it and whatnot, there's still that feeling you get. So as I started earning money, of course, it just kind of made me feel like, wow, I can contribute to our family. I can still be a full-time mom. I can take care of all my kids' needs, and I can help other people. And so that's kind of what's driving me now, is just helping other people and being able to stay at home and feeling like I'm a part of our family's financial future. So that's kind of what's driving me and where I'm at now.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I love hearing your story. It never gets old.
It's longer, but I try to like shorten it down, you know. It's a long one. Well, I think everybody has a great story to build on. And I think like he talks about practice, practice, practice. I love how he said he just went over his speech, I guess you'd call it, you know, hundreds of times and played it back to himself in the car, which I never would have thought to do, like to record it and play it to myself, because I'm sure we all sound very different when we hear it back than we think we sound when we're saying it. So I thought that was a great idea. I think I'm going to try that for myself just to perfect it.
They had us do that in communication and speech. What is it? The speech class, like when you take.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. For in college?
My minor was communications, and I took speech. What do you call public speaking?
Public speaking. Yes. Oh, I hated that.
You're like, what's it called?
Yes,
Clearly, she learned a lot in that one.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to get over my non-ability to speak well in front of people, and obviously I'm still working on that. But y'all, if you have the audio version of his book, have y'all heard the speech that he's talking about?
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And it's really cool that he, like, just to, because when I think about the future and I think about like when you become a diamond or when you become higher up, the higher you go, the more people you wind up talking to,
right? And having
opportunities to speak to more people. And I'm just like, well, I guess they just kind of like get better as they go. But it looks like he really put a lot of effort into it.
He worked on it, to get to that level. Because I was shocked when I went and heard his recording that he found from the one he perfected for his contest.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, the link's in the book.
Yeah.
Just look it up and have a listen because it's great. Alrighty, let's see. And then what was there? Oh, the ending of this chapter had some really good information. As far as, now I've lost my page. I'm sorry.
25.
Yeah, about summarizing your skill set and how you can do this kind of speech. I guess I hate calling it a speech because it's not, but maybe telling your story, I guess. And I think that he brought out these 3 points, which I think are really important. The one about when you're prospecting, you're the messenger, not the message, which basically getting yourself out of the way and using a third-party tool instead of making it about you. That one was huge for me. Number 2 is to learn to tell your story in a way that will make your prospects curious to hear more. And I think that everybody that talked tonight had something they said that if I had never heard of Plexus before would make me want to go, why don't you tell me more about that? You're getting to stay home with your daughter, or you've lost 60 pounds, or you're working towards being able to stay home and volunteer as a teacher. I mean, all those things are things that are going to pique people's interest. So I think we all, just work on that and make sure to, have those things in there. I love that about that. And then when it comes to presenting in front of a group of people, preparation is key. That's something I struggle with. I don't prepare ever. I just kind of wing it and thought that was okay. But after reading this, I feel like, okay, I need to up my game and basically memorize my presentation and just go for it. So
one thing about memorizing though, because I did the Dale Carnegie public speaking course leadership course. And one thing they teach really is not to memorize word for word, but really you have these bullet points. And so even having those memorized is important, but practicing with a partner who can coach you. And even if it's recording yourself like he did, it was a 12-week course and we had to get up and give speeches every week. And I had a fear of public speaking in front of adults, which is funny because it's part of my job. But, and so you get up and the speeches are like 2 to 3 minutes. And so it's about being concise and really getting to the point. And when you record yourself or when you practice with a friend, you get really good just doing it over and over and over. So same with I agree with all of that part, but also just having your main points, because sometimes you can see when someone has a speech memorized word for word and they get lost in it, how they stumble. Right. But if you memorize your main points and your ideas, you think of the beginning and the things in the middle, your roadmap, so to speak, and that helps too.
Absolutely makes sense. And I guess too, that way, if you don't have it memorized, you could cater it more to a group too. Like if you're talking to a particular group, you can put in information that you wouldn't put in for one group versus another.
Right.
But if you have it memorized, you're not going to be able to just.
Exactly. You can't tailor it. And having the anecdotes, like your personal anecdotes within it, is really important too, because that's what connects you with your audience.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really helpful. Because I hate speech. I took it in college my very last semester. I put it off for years. And it was like, you can't graduate until you do.
Yes. I can tell you, I used to get bad anxiety about public speaking, and I would get, like we were talking about, the blotchy on the red neck and chest, and I would sweat profusely, like embarrassingly, the back of my head would be soaking wet. And last summer, when I was teaching 6 classes to Round Rock ISD, and where you have, all of these teachers in your classes, I had started taking Plexus about a month before, and I did not have those same issues. So it really helped with my anxiety for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can definitely, my anxiety is like so much better since Plexus. I could have never, before Plexus, I could have never talked to a group of people or get on a call or anything. So
that's another great selling point. I shouldn't say selling point, but my friends who know that about me and know that I didn't get nervous are like, wow, that's impressive.
So it is good, and that's part of your story.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
We're going to have, like, as we get more opportunities to public speak, we'll have to do like a little practice group or something.
For sure. Jenny and I both went through the Dale Carnegie training together. So yeah.
That's great to know.
That's how I met her, actually.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool. Yeah, I've heard of it, and I've heard of people that have done like Toastmasters and things like that, but the thought of it has always been like, oh, are you kidding me? No.
And that's why I did it, because it was free, and it's a very expensive course. Our district paid for it, and I knew it would push me out of my comfort zone.
Absolutely. That's
and
great.
It did.
We'll definitely use you and Jenny then for that.
Cool.
I think that is a great idea. If we're getting ready to do even a sip and see, if we want to run past what we're going to say with each other, do a quick Zoom or whatever.
And even the moment before guests arrive, if you run through and practice it, that's,
Yep, that's probably plenty of time.
Yep.
What do you think of this real quick? So great. Yep. Thank you. Alrighty. I think that was pretty much the gist of that chapter, don't you think, Darla?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or any other input they want to add to this chapter? Anything they're nervous about?
Nope.
All righty. Okay, Miss Darla, you want to move us forward?
Sure. So chapter 7 is huge because it's about follow-up. And like they all say, fortune is in the follow-up. Every thing I see from any jewel or higher ranked person, like that's one of the hugest things that I see.
Yes, absolutely.
So I like this whole thing about how good at you at follow-up, just to kind of reflect on our own skills. And this is something that we were kind of talking about last week too, that it's like, when are you following up too much? How do you like space it apart to where you're not like
stalking them?
Like they don't want to get what do you call those things where you have to stay within 100 yards from someone?
Yeah, restraining orders.
Yeah. But at the same time, if they're not saying no, then that means that they're still
thinking, they're thought about it. Until they basically yell no in your face, I guess. They're really, I wouldn't follow up with somebody every other day.
Well, no.
You know what I mean? And that is the hard thing. And I think you have to kind of know the person too a little bit. Like I have some people that I could bug weekly because I know they're just like sitting on the fence, and they will eventually do it because I've known them and I've kind of pestered them for long enough that they're like, okay, you're right, I'm going to do it. Like Nadia was one of those people, believe it or not. I send her stuff all the time. And then there's those people that that you're like, okay, I need to give them a few weeks. But
and I think
it's so hard.
It is. And I like, we were talking about a little bit last week how we just kind of like go and comment on some of their stuff, you know, just stay connected with them in some way. And then I've had people like not too long after I comment on something of theirs, they message me or it's like they forgot or something, but I still feel like I was bothering them too much. So I just go comment.
Exactly. Like a post or comment or And the other, I think too, with the follow-up thing, starting out building the relationship like you were talking about versus just like Celeste was saying how she never starts off when she meets somebody or gets to know somebody anything about Plexus. It's just personal stuff. So I think part of the follow-up is following up on like, hey, I saw your son had a game last week. How did that go? You know, just keeping yourself in front of them, because if they're seeing that you're interested in them, they're going to be like, oh, I wonder what she's up to. And they'll go back to your page or they'll, you know, check in with you. So I think follow-up is more than just like, hey, what do you think of my products? What do you think of this? But this was a good chapter for me because I felt like I was doing pretty good following up. But when I went through this, I was like, holy cow, I'm really not following up. You know, I'm not as, you know, I don't know. It was an eye-opener.
So what do you like on the rating part of it?
Let's see. For like number one, I feel like I'm really good about checking back when I tell somebody I will. If I say I'll check back with you in 3 days, I check back in 3 days. That's one thing I've always been good at. I don't want to tell somebody I'm going to do something and not do it. My biggest downfall has been in the follow-up is the short time of like, once I've given people some educational tools or some tools to look through, not getting back to them quick enough with, you know, what did you like about this? On a scale of 1 to 10, those things he kind of tells us about. So that was definitely a weak area, number 3 and 4 for me. And then number 5 is kind of a work in progress for me as far as handling questions and objections. In the beginning, I was always like, I'm not sure, let me get back to you, because I didn't know much about the products or the questions, or I didn't want to tell them the wrong thing. But now that's gotten easier. I feel like I have a better knowledge base, or I can get the answers more quickly myself. But that's still, I think, a work in progress too. How do you feel?
I feel like checking back with them, like you said, the first one, I'm pretty good about that. I actually, the whole formula, or not, I guess not formula, but the whole process that he suggests, like getting confirmations from people and saying, would you, like that whole process, and then getting that date from them to follow up with them has made it a lot more easy when I remember to use it. Like you said, it takes practice. So there's a few that have slipped through the cracks and I'm like, oh yeah, here you go. But like for a few of them that I'm like, okay, if I send this to you, will you try it? And then how long is it going to take you? How long do you think you need to try it and read through the information? And when can I call you or message you? And having that has helped me so, so much, because I don't feel like I'm not giving them enough time, or I don't feel like it's just kind of like I have to stalk them or whatnot. So that makes it a lot easier. But I think the one that I like, the educating them to make an informed decision, I'm getting better at that since I've read this book, and I'm sitting back a little bit more and just not putting so much stress on the close,
right?
And just kind of giving them the information and backing off, and then having that date. But the one that I'm struggling the most with, I think, is leading them through an average of 4 to 6 educational tools. Like for me, I feel like after 1 or 2, it should be good. Like we're golden.
That's how I feel. Like if you, after a couple of things, you're not with me, then maybe, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel too, because if like I put myself in the position of the customer, and if someone was wanting me to do that many things, I would be like, no, I don't have time for that.
Right.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
I feel like if I were to get really good at this process, it wouldn't feel too much like that. Like if they're not on board, then set up the next, what's it called?
Exposure. Like
if they're not on board, set up the next exposure. So I need to get better at just cutting it Like if they're not on board yet, just nipping it,
stopping there and walking away for a little bit.
And offering another exposure. Like, let me send you an article. If I send you an article, will you just to kind of like, instead of waiting till they're not responding to me at all and then sending an article and be like, oh, by the way, here's another article.
Right.
Like making it more.
Especially because if you're listening to them and the first reason maybe they came to you because they mentioned, oh, I see you've lost a lot of weight. I'm struggling with my weight. So, weight loss is their issue. If they've put up the barrier or, kind of ended it with you at that point, you can say, well, I've got a couple of really great articles on that I think you might be interested in reading. Particularly, you say you're struggling with weight loss. Can I send, I'm going to send that to you. But I guess just use what you already know. You kind of have an idea why they came to you to begin with, or when you approach them, why they, so maybe, or, oh my gosh, you mentioned that you're having a horrible time with sleeping and lack of energy. I have a couple of really great articles that might help with that or something. I don't know. But I think we all struggle in that area. That's just a hard one for me. And I don't want to bother people, but at the same time, I know that I can help them. So it's like, I don't know.
Staying ahead of it enough that it's more intentional rather than like making up laws.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's what that's my goal is for this to become such a second nature to me that it's just like, we have something amazing to offer. We have the education that the educational tools that we can use, and just having them more readily having it become such a habit that I'm like, oh, I got this, like here's this, here's that.
Absolutely.
And some of the ways that he answered, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so smart. I didn't write them down. Hold on, let me look.
I know.
Back in the book. But just his answers of like when people are freaking out about it being a pyramid scheme and stuff, I was like, that's a brilliant answer.
Yes.
Like, you have the money. Like instead of like, it reminded me of this part right here. Oh, sorry.
Was it where he says, if you don't have those pyramid schemes, you're like, no, are you looking for one of those? Is that what he says?
No, he says, no, those are illegal and I wouldn't do anything illegal. But the other one was like, oh, you've been involved in this in the past. How'd that work out for you? Just like really, it just reminds me of coaching, asking lots of questions. But when he said, you don't have the money, do you have a cable bill? Do you have a cell phone bill? Do you ever go out to dinner? You have lots of money. Come on, wake up. And I've seen Facebook posts that talk about that. Like that's such a turn off to a potential. And then the way he says it of, that I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but here's what I found. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I really liked that a lot.
Yeah. He has a lot of really good answers to objections for sure.
Like, I feel like I need to write them down on little index cards and just practice them.
And just have them there and maybe even do like.
Hold on. Let me get my index card out, guys.
Yeah. You know what I think we might need to like add a couple of weeks onto this book study is for just intentional role play. I know like by the time we get through the end of the chapters, we don't have a lot of time left.
Right.
Like that real intentional, like let's set up a scenario where you're objectionable, like you have a lot of objections and just go through all the different scenarios with each other.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell y'all, we do that like as instructional coaches, we do that. Sometimes we practice with like, if we're going to have a difficult conversation with a teacher maybe, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And how can we like, we will sit down. We've had sessions where we sit down and practice coaching conversations, and it's
a great idea.
So helpful. Yeah, it's really helpful.
We should do that in June when we get back, maybe, because I think our last one is the Thursday before convention, the 9th. Yeah. And so then it'll be convention, which will be crazy. But maybe when we get back, we can all just even do 2 or 3 different Zoom times where we can do some role plays and go through some of this stuff and practice. Yeah. I think that is everybody's biggest stumbling block is objections and how to answer it without either sounding snotty or getting upset or
insecure.
Feeling like, oh my gosh, they're saying no to me. They hate me. I should have never said anything to them, because I know people get that feeling. I, for one, thankfully never take it personally, but,
I totally did in the beginning.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to overcome when you feel like somebody's saying no to you. When really they're not. They're just saying no right now or no to the products or no to the business or whatever. But I think the more you practice and the more you have kind of ammunition on your side to say, I totally understand. I've been in your shoes. I felt the same way or whatever. But those are things you have to practice. And, you know, I don't know. I'm just not good at that yet either. So I think that would be wonderful.
But I like how you said not yet. That's a growth mindset. That's a good thing.
Not yet. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress.
I know when I first started, when Jenny and I would go to meetings or whatever we would ride together for, we would do a little bit of practice, like, because my knowledge of the products, like, I felt she has such a extensive knowledge of all the, like, ingredients and stuff. So we would, we did that a couple times where we practiced about, like, kind of like just conversational role play in the car. Right. It was really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, and it just gets your jitters out and it brings to light. And I also think it's good because you know more than you realize you do a lot of times. And you're just, and the things you're worried about people asking you about or bringing to light, you already know the answers. You're just worried about it for no reason, really. And so having somebody say it to you and practicing it, I think, you know, helps you with your I don't know, feeling better about yourself, so to speak.
Yeah. What about Flor and Eva? Y'all have been quiet. Do y'all have anything you want to say or add?
No, I'm just listening. I'm listening. I think one of the things I'm still working on is my story. It's just kind of hard to put it into words. But I have been practicing on the phone.
Good.
And the videos. I don't know. I'm just still nervous.
That's okay. We're all nervous.
I talked to somebody on the phone the other day. I had a follow-up, and I was asking her on Messenger, like, hey, when's a good time to chat or call you? And she never objected to the phone call. So I was like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity.
There you go.
I'm really good on Messenger, and face-to-face I'm getting better. But cold, like, just on the phone talking with I feel like I get, especially if they're not talkers, like she was very shy and hardly talked at all. So I felt like I had to fill dead space. And I felt like, I was like, oh my God, I got off the phone and messaged Jenny and Ashley. I was like, I definitely need more practice on the phone.
Phones are hard because, you know, number one, you don't see their faces.
Yes.
So you don't know, is she like making this ugly face at me like, oh God, shut up and hang up the phone? Or is she just truly listening? Because some people just really like to hear everything before they say anything. Or, you know, did she hang up on me? You know, so I agree. That is my worst scenario, is if somebody says, can you call me so we can talk? Oh my God. Yes, I guess, I suppose. Those are the hard ones. Because, Facebook and face-to-face, because at least face-to-face you can get an idea of how they're feeling by their facial expressions. But the phone, it's hard.
My friend told me to call her husband, and I did. And we talked. He wanted to know about the products, and it was fine. But I'm lacking on how to ask when to follow up, I guess. Like, it just, they're like, oh, okay, I'll get back to you. And I just don't know how to stop and say, oh, well, when is a good time? You know, I just get stuck on that.
I know. That's a hard one, I think, for everybody. What does he say in here? He said something really good when they say, let me go back. Let me get back to you. Can't remember now. Hold on.
I think he's just very adamant about
So
when is a good day for me to get back with you? Or
if they say, let me get back to you, say, great, tell me when a good day for you is so I get you on my calendar. You know, he basically wants you to give a sense of urgency, like, you're busy, this is super important, and I need to get you on my calendar so that I don't miss you, type of thing. So it's a hard one for sure, but I think he's basically big on creating a sense of urgency. And so I think you can maybe use that. If they say something like, okay, thanks for the information, let me get back to you. Say, great, I'd love to get back to you. When's a good day for you? Or, you know, what day can I call you? Let me put you on my calendar and see how that goes maybe.
I'll be working on that because I lack on that. Or later on, I'll check back in. You know, our last conversation will be Plexus, and I check back in with them. But I try to make a casual conversation, and then it just Plexus doesn't come out naturally. I don't know how to say, hi, how you doing, without, you know, like first.
Right.
And then, I don't know. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, it's a work for all of us. And I don't know. I would love to talk to some of the diamonds and ask them if it ever gets easier, or, I'm sure it gets easier, or if it's always something they're working on. Because you just wonder, is this something that someday I'm just going to be like, no big deal? Or is it something that you work on your whole career of network marketing? I don't know.
Easier.
I don't know.
Eva, did you want to add something?
I agree with a lot of it. I think my biggest struggle, like I've been following up with phone calls, and I think I told Darla I'm really, really trying to work on follow-up, just because it's not my strong suit, because I'm like, I'll get to it, and it's just not something I do. But I think the biggest part, and it should be the least difficult, is the condensing the exposures. So I can set up another exposure, I can talk comfortably on the phone, I can do all of that, but condensing it all and trying to not just like word vomit because I'm so excited kind of gets me on the difficult side of it. And then too, because I always feel like, well, especially right now, because a lot of people that I'm talking to and getting started are people I know. And so I don't want it to be just like, hey, I'm trying to tell you about this awesome product. I really want to make it personable too, and it's not just about that, it's I want to catch up with you too. So mixing the personal with the business is kind of difficult getting going, and I think once I get to more of an outlet of people that I'm not as familiar with, I think it'll be a little bit easier, but right now that's kind of something that I'm kind of trying to figure out how to balance.
Right. Well, you're definitely, because you are new, you're in your warm market phase, which is family and close friends, and that is hard because you don't want them to feel like the only reason you're talking to them is to get them on Plexus, but also because you care about them and it could help them, you do want to talk to them about Plexus. So I can definitely see where you're kind of having a struggle there, because I felt the same way. And it's sometimes it's easier to talk to people you don't know, but then sometimes it's harder because they don't know you either. So I don't know, it's a work in progress for sure, but I think you're handling it very well.
Yeah, especially because this is such a huge relationship business. Like, it's all about the trust and the relationship, and they're not going to do anything with you if they don't trust you.
Exactly.
Right.
You're on the.
That's what I'm struggling too. Is I don't want to ruin the relationships either, because I'm talking part of business, but I'm trying. I mean, I know it's not business, but it is business, and so I'm trying. I think I'm thinking too much about it.
Yeah. I think for me, I finally kind of decided that, Darla and I talked a little bit about this, is I know I have something great to offer in the product, and I know it can help people. So I'm at a place where I share with them because I care. And if they don't want to do it, that's great. And I'm just going to, down the road when they come back to me, just welcome them back. But I think for me, I was really nervous about kind of burning bridges with family and friends. But to be honest with you, I haven't had that happen at all. And I've had tons of friends that have tried it and done the whole, I tried it for 2 months, it didn't work thing, and quit. But we're still really good friends. Because I didn't make a big deal about it. I said, that's great. I understand. I'm here when you want to come back. If you want to try again, I'm always here to help you. Thanks for, supporting me, whatever, and just kind of leaving it at that. So I don't think if they're the people in your warm market, I don't think you're going to lose them over sharing the products with them, whether they like them or they don't. So that's just something that it takes time to get kind of past. And after 2 years, I don't feel bad telling anybody about it. And I don't worry that they're going to hate me if they don't like the products either. So
yeah, and I have friends who have flat out told me, like, I don't want to try it. I have no desire to try it. Yet they still always ask me, how's your Plexus going? Like, they always ask. They want me to be successful. Well, they want me to be successful. Yep, and so maybe down the road they will, but I can think of 3 people offhand that do not want to use supplements, or they'll use another supplement or what. Anyways, I digress. Yeah. But they have told me no. I haven't really asked them, but they just have made it clear they're not interested. But those are the people who I feel like are my biggest cheerleaders in a way. It's so weird.
Right. Yeah, I have several like that too that I know. 2 of my very best friends that I know have basically said never, ever network marketing, never, ever, ever, ever supplements, never, ever. But they like my comments. They cheer me on. They So, you're going to have both. And then you're going to have the people that, you would never in a million years think that would want to try your products, just show up one day and be like, I'm on it, and turn into your best customers. So it's just such a funny business and a funny way
so true.
to happen. Yeah. And it does get easier. I mean, it takes time, but it does get easier. Don't you think, Darla and Ashley?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, something I've been doing too with the following up, because I know like Worre Market, I get that. With the Facebook posts, people that I've never realized were looking or liking things or liking them randomly. And so I've started just messaging them, hey, it's been a really long time, like people I haven't talked to in years. And that's kind of, I don't know what kind of market that is. I don't think it's Worre Market anymore, but I'm taking that as I need to follow up with them because they're reading my posts.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm fine.
I agree. Like if anybody comments, I'll, message them and say, like if they're commenting about the products, and of course, but even people who like my posts that aren't a part of Plexus yet, I will message them and be like, hey, I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting me. And sometimes that leads into that they're interested. And sometimes they're just like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But right now, some of them that are liking have been people that were interested in the past but haven't followed through. And so I know they're interested, even though when I say thank you for your support, they're like, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I love your journey. I know that they're thinking about it. So
they definitely are watching.
Yeah. And I had my other ambassador that's, my other business building, one of my other business building ambassadors, Julie, her husband worked with my husband, and we weren't even friends on Facebook. She messaged me back in January, I think, and said, hey, my name is Julie. I'm Cameron's wife. He worked with Dom. I've been watching you for a year. I've been watching your story and to see if it works. And I know that it does, and I want to be a part of this. And so, like, you'll have people come to you immediately, like they're doing right now, Eva. You'll have people come in a couple months. You might have people watching you for at least a year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's true. And, even when you think they're not watching, they're watching. And it's amazing how all of a sudden somebody you haven't heard from for years or like you didn't even know just shows up and are like, hey, I'm ready to go, So,
it's amazing.
It's crazy how it all works.
You literally never know who's watching.
I know.
Kind of creepy, but cool.
Yes, it is. It's a little bit weird sometimes, but it's a great feeling when somebody comes to you and says, I've been watching you for a year. I need to do this with you. So
what was even more awesome is, and I guess just to each person, they respond differently to different people, but she had like 3 or 4 people to choose from to go with.
Okay.
And
seeing, so
like, shoot, that's the biggest compliment ever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you do a great job though. So of posting your story and sharing your story and motivating. So people notice that for sure.
It's fun.
I just had that similar thing. I was one girl that I'm consistently following up with now. I haven't, talked to her since like 5th grade. But she found me on Facebook through another friend, and I just started talking with her, and, she asked what I was doing, and I used the whole, I'm in network marketing, but I'm also in human resources kind of thing. And so she asked a little bit about it, and then I told her, she said, yeah, I'm having some issues, and I have so many friends in network marketing, and, with Shakeology and with Thrive and all of these things. She said, they've all followed up with me. I just really don't know which, I want something. I just don't know what it's going to be. And so last night she told me, I decided I really want to work with you, and I trust you, and it looks like the Plexus products are really awesome. Just give me a few days to try to figure it out. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know how long she's been talking to these Shakeology and Thrive and all these other companies. I don't know, but I'm just going to run with it.
That's awesome. There you go. Good for you.
Yeah, I love the way you share on Facebook. It's very personal, and it's very informative at the same time. I really like it.
Yeah, the one thing I've learned over the last couple of years is, it's good to have some of the informational posts because you never know who's going to be watching those, and there are people that just want to read them. But the more personal you are about your journey and the people close to you, those are the things that people are watching, because your friends are your friends because they care about you and what's happening with you. They want to know your story and what's going on. So it's great when people share their personal journeys and their stories and successes, because that's really what drives your friends and your acquaintances to kind of follow up with you, because they know you and they trust you. So you're doing a great job with that.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well,
so
that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I like the best part of the question. Oh, okay. Sorry. Back up.
Go ahead. Back it up.
The best follow-up question that he's ever used is, what did you like best? And I made it a point to ask that to the girl I talked to on the phone the other day, and I was stumbling over my words a little bit. But because I had sent her some brochures and a sample of pink. So it was kind of like awkward, like asking her, like, what did you like best? But I made it a point to get that out because I wanted to become more natural. Instead of saying, did you like the slim?
Right.
And, like, that's a yes or no question.
Well, and you could say something like, what did you find most interesting? Just because she didn't get to try, she tried one thing, but as she's looking through a brochure or a catalog thingy, she might have something that jumped out at her.
Yeah.
But I agree, the open-ended question. Now I can't talk.
Yes. Yeah. That's one thing I'm learning is don't ask a yes or no question, because it closes the door. It's definitely better to open the conversation with, something that they can answer and you can answer back with. And, it seems so basic to say, what did you like best? But it's so hard to remember to say that to people or to ask that versus, what did you think of the pink? Did you like the pink drink or whatever? They're either going to say yes or no. And then what are you going to do with that? So, And then his other question was a good one too. What was his other one?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you're not ready at all, and 10 means you're ready to go.
That made me laugh. 1 being a 0.
Right?
Then why not call it 0 to 10?
Yeah, 0 to 10. I don't know. He's so funny.
I like
lots of great answers to objections in this chapter too, that I think we can all agree to just kind of go over and keep in the back of our minds, that like Ashley was talking about earlier, when somebody says, I don't have money, instead of saying, sure you do, you buy Starbucks every day, I've seen you, that kind of is a turnoff, versus saying, I've had the exact same challenge. I didn't have enough money to pay bills, let alone start a new business. But when I thought about it, I realized I didn't have my money to pay bills now. What was I going to change in the future if I didn't at least try?
Right.
I really like some of the ways he words things to make people realize, you know what, she's just like me. She couldn't pay her bills, or she didn't have $35 to start, but she did anyway, and now look where she's at, type of thing. So, and the other thing that's the good subject is, I can't focus. Beliefs thing. I never really thought about that people's main limiting beliefs fall into just a few categories. And so it's good to have some comebacks for those as well. Like you said, is this a pyramid scheme? Or I'm not interested in MLM. So just having some quick comebacks that don't make you sound snotty or a know-it-all, but make you sound educated and like, oh yeah, I would have asked the same thing, but of course it's not a pyramid scheme. That's illegal and I would never do anything illegal. Or, of course the products are safe. I would never share something that's not safe with a friend I cared about or whatever, so those are all really good things that I think it just is going to take practice for all of us. It's a work in progress type of thing. And we're all going to screw up and we're all going to say something and go back and go, oh, wow, I wish I could do that conversation over again. Or, I wish I hadn't have said it that way, but that's how we learn. And that's, you can always come back. I think the people that you're talking to are most likely going to be pretty forgiving if you come back and say, wow, I wish, I said this and I really meant it to come out like this, or, I don't know.
Yeah. I really like the connecting with them, like you were talking about, like the feel, felt, found formula or whatnot. I like it.
Yeah. And I think, not all network marketing businesses are like ours, but like you said, ours is so relationship built. Without relationships, we have nothing. And so that's why his book, I think, really works well with our particular business, because he talks so much about the relationship building and the focusing on the people versus the product and the dollars type of thing. And I really wish I'd had this book 2 years ago.
Oh my God, yes. So like the part where he was saying, keep every contact and find an interesting way to stay in touch with them. Mm-hmm. And I had said I added that girl at Safari Champ last week. And then I met another girl at the playground the other day, and I added her I told her, I was like, hey, I have a mom's group, because she's saying how she goes to playgrounds during the day with her son. And I was like, well, I have a mom's group that meets once a week. Can I add you? And she's like, yeah. So the first girl, they're moving. I think they're going to move here. And I gave her the contact information to one of our friends. It's a realtor. And so I told myself to figure, so I went on Facebook and I messaged her and I was like, I hope the rest of y'all's trip went well. And she's like, it did. So it kind of like opened up a conversation.
Perfect.
So sometimes I get nervous, and when I add people on Facebook, they're going to see what I'm into, and they're going to think that that's the only reason I added them. And I don't want that. So I'm trying to make it a point to stay in touch with her for other reasons,
Right.
Which is, just natural or whatnot.
Yeah.
So anyway, when they're coming back in town at the end of June to house hunt, and so I'm going to try to set up a play date just to kind of build that relationship. So I was excited that I used it and it worked.
Yay, that's great. Good, because remember when we met to discuss the book study, you were so bummed out because you'd met that mom at the playground and you didn't think to get her information. So
yes, and I told them about that the other day. Every time I'm somewhere now and there's a lady that, our kids start playing or something, I'm like, got to get her on Facebook. I've done it twice, and I'm so excited because I'll never forget that train ride. I didn't get that chick's information.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's what it was, the train ride. So see, you'll note that you learned it. You used it as a learning lesson. So.
I failed forward.
That's right. Great. What? You ready?
Daddy contaminated my blanket.
Okay, go away.
Parts on my blanket.
Go away. Oh my gosh. Oh, my middle child. Oh, I tell you. All right. Does anybody have anything else? I really loved this.
I like tonight. Tonight was great.
Ashley, thank you so much for your insight on speeches.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, that's definitely my struggling place. So I appreciate that input. And Eva and Flor, thanks for joining us. You guys are doing great. Just being here shows that you're working your way in the business. So
thank y'all so much.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, we're available not just on Zoom nights. So, message us or get on our group or whatever, and we can role play even in our group if we needed to. Like, what should I have said, or what could I say, or whatever. So just know that we're around. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, y'all.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.